The jungle swallowed the sound of gunfire as fast as it came. When the dust settled, he lay there in the dirt, broken and motionless, his own men retreating without a backward glance. They thought it was over. They thought the enemy had won. They thought he was dead. But a commando soldier never really dies. Not in spirit, not in will, not in the place where courage burns brighter than fear. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. His name was Daniel Hayes, and long before this night of betrayal, he was known for the fire in his heart more than the stripes on his uniform. A man who believed in honor, who carried his comrades when their legs gave out, who stayed behind to cover their escape when the odds looked impossible. Yet here he was, abandoned. Blood in his mouth, dust stinging his eyes, his body screaming in pain. He wanted to believe they hadn't meant to leave him. But deep down, another truth gnawed at him. Maybe they had. He thought of his father's words, spoken when he was just a boy clutching a wooden toy rifle. Son, a soldier isn't measured by who stands with him in battle. He's measured by what he does when he's all alone. Those words struck like thunder now. And somehow, through the blur of pain, Daniel felt a flicker of life. His hand twitched. His breath steadied. He pushed against the earth. The jungle seemed to lean closer, watching, holding its breath, as if it knew this man's fight wasn't finished. Night turned colder. Insects whispered through the leaves, and the distant echo of enemy boots closed in. Every step they took toward his broken body was a test, not of muscle, but of spirit. Should he stay hidden, crawl deeper into the shadows, hope they would pass? Or should he rise, half dead, to face them head on, knowing he could be crushed within seconds? The moral dilemma tore at him. Safety whispered one way, honor pulled another. In the end, honor won. Because even broken, Daniel Hayes knew who he was. When the first soldier's boot landed inches from his head, Daniel's hand snapped upward like lightning. A knife gleamed, then silence. A silence so sharp the whole jungle seemed to flinch. The others turned, eyes wide, but what they saw was not a dying man. It was a ghost they thought they'd buried. He moved with a kind of fury that looked less like survival and more like destiny. Tools striking in unison, fists slamming with the weight of betrayal, every breath a promise that he would not be erased. They staggered under the force of him, men against a storm. And then came the moment no one expected. Through the chaos, one of his own, a soldier who had left him bleeding hours earlier, stumbled back into view. Their eyes locked. For a heartbeat, time froze. Daniel could have ended it there. Retribution was within his grasp, but instead, he lowered his weapon. His voice, ragged but steady, carried across the clearing. You left me for dead, but I am still here, and I am still your brother. The enemy fell quiet, even the jungle hushed. And in that silence, something shifted, not just in the men before him, but in the soul of every person who would one day hear his story. Because mercy in the hands of a broken soldier is stronger than vengeance in the heart of a coward. They carried him home that night, not as a ghost, not as a casualty, but as proof that spirit cannot be buried in shallow ground. Because courage doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And somewhere deep in that jungle, where blood had mixed with earth, the soil still remembers the heartbeat of a man who refused to die. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more, and join a community that believes in courage, honor, and the strength to rise again, even when the world thinks you're finished.